your organization has a mobile application. If you are already doing these things, we want to know about it. We want to try to assemble these on our webpage. So if you can send me the description, then we will be putting all them together. There's a tiny URL or bit.ly for a CRB Mobile Tech Webinar. And so this information and YouTube video of today's webinar will also be there. Okay, so let's see the first poll. So we do have like 10 polls or so to use throughout the day. They're not going to be up for long because I don't want to take time away from people or from our presenters. So if you could go ahead and fill this in. We actually have over 100 right now. So lots of our local DOTs, and so I'm excited. And so maybe after another 5 seconds or so, you can close this one and ask then who else is in the room with you. So, all right. So go ahead. We'll. This is exciting. So yeah, we closed that one. To ask, how many people are in the room with you? That was beautiful.
They want to boost their numbers. We had the
These are all the people.
They can see the poll, right? Okay. All right, now we can go ahead and close that and see one more. I get our next presentation here. So we're going to do one more poll, and then if I have the presentation start at the beginning. Sorry about that.
Let's go.
All right, one more poll. So before we do our presentations, we are interested in whether your organization allows the use of mobile devices on the job. So, you're right, we definitely have some anxiety about whether there's restrictions, and we want to, ask questions about those restrictions next.
Michigan DOT was
They don't hear us, right?
What's that?
They hear us.
Gotta go for the $2,000 textbook,
React.
Hang up on us?
Yeah, I think so. We're getting a little bit of some people are talking. If you can mute your phone.
Yeah, exactly.
I think they're pretty good about stuff nice, right? Now we're so used to everybody having iPhones.
All right. I'm not sure. If people can mute their phones that are on the line, we've tried to mute. Yeah, *6 might be able to make it mute. Okay, at this point, I think we want to go ahead and close the poll and ask Mark Chaput of Michigan DOT to start his presentation.
Good afternoon.
Mark?
Hello?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, very good. My name is Mark Chaput with the Michigan Department of Transportation. MDOT is moving toward the use of mobile technologies in many areas as a means to improve our efficiencies and realize cost savings. Today I'll be sharing our experiences with two different operational areas. The first one is our use of mobile technologies and mobile applications to support our construction, administration, and inspection activities. And the second is in our bridge inspection program. The old paper processes for construction contract administration are well in the past, as of the days when handwritten notes were taken in the field and then transferred into a computer when inspectors returned to the office. No longer do we need stocks of reference manuals and guidebooks loaded into our vehicles so the necessary information is available to us in the field. Today, our integrated systems are fully implemented and allow us to leverage the use of mobile technologies to more effectively perform our work. Our reconstruction process has allowed us to move into a totally paperless process environment for our construction administration activities. In addition to the ease of data collection in the field by the use of mobile devices, we no longer have to maintain file rooms of project records or construction plans. All of our documentation is automated and managed electronically. Another significant benefit of moving to a paperless environment is the ability to share project documents among all of the involved parties. Contract documents used to be copied and shared among the many parties, often having been sent through the mail, taking several days, or scanning documents and emailing them. More recently, we've moved to scanning and emailing as a way to improve those efficiencies, but all of those old methods are time-consuming and costly. Our paperless environment has afforded us the ability to move from a traditional file storage model where each party received and stored their own sets of files into a more collaborative model where the files are managed in a central repository and appropriate access is provided to all parties. This new collaborative model, along with the institution of e-signature technology, has also allowed us the ability to electronically transfer and process contract documents very quickly. Documents such as contract change orders used to take several weeks to mail and acquire all the necessary signatures. Now they can be completed in the course of hours. This allows for more timely decisions and processing of contract documents, helps keep the project moving, reduces project delays, and improving the overall efficiency of project contract administration. Our inspectors use a variety of devices to perform their work. Some still bring laptops into the field where they have access to project files that have been preloaded onto their hard drives, and they use fillable forms for documentation. For the use of laptops, it is necessary to provide virtual private network VPN cards so they have access to the internet and other valuable web-based resources, including their email. Smartphones and tablets are also utilized, which provide a variety of benefits through the use of cellular and Wi-Fi communications. They have direct access to project file records directly in the system. They have access to web-based construction resources such as manuals, guidebooks, specifications. The devices are also used for photo and video documentation in the field, where those files are loaded directly into the project record file system. The use of cell phones is still an invaluable tool for project efficiencies, and also applications such as video chat or FaceTime type applications are used quite effectively to engage individuals in the office or off-site. We've developed a number of applications at MDOT that make the use of mobile technologies and mobile devices in the field more effective. Our primary application is the conversion of our resource website for manuals and guides to make it more mobile-friendly. The new design adapts the screen size for mobile devices, and the categories have collapsible menus which are better suited for mobile device searching. A number of our documents have been converted to PDF format, which can also be viewed on mobile devices using PDF reader applications such as Adobe. We're also beginning to convert a number of our manuals to EPUB, electronic publication format, which can be easily accessed and viewed on mobile devices. Another valuable resource is our construction manual, which is an instructional guidance document for our field inspectors that was developed as a supplement to our standard specifications. Where the standard specs indicate what is to be done, our construction manual explains to our field staff how to do it. We've recently converted our construction manual into a wiki format and made it web accessible from the field. The wiki technology allows us to maintain a real-time resource where updates are made on an ongoing basis. As you can see, the sections and divisions on the left are all sequenced in with our spec book, and all of the instruction guidance is tied directly to our spec book references. The interactive wiki format allows field personnel to recommend changes to the guidance manual right from the field through the web. They can provide text corrections or changes to the content. They can even provide additional inspection supporting pictures or videos that can be then referenced and used by others. They can also recommend minor and major process changes to our inspection procedures, such as the additions of new forms or a new set of procedures for consideration. This opportunity is provided to all field personnel, including DOT staff, as well as consultants, contractors, and local agencies. And all the change recommendations will be evaluated and approved by MDOT in advance of making the formal change. This is a great way for the manual to be continually updated and have good, relevant, important guidance to reference. Moving on to our bridge inspection program, another operation we've moved to a more mobile-friendly and use of mobile devices is our bridge inspection program. MyBridge is an in-house developed web application that is used for collecting and storing inventory and condition information for bridges and structures across the state. MyBridge is also used to improve the asset management process and also feeds into our project selection and fund allocations. Another primary use of MyBridge is to collect the structure inspection information required by federal highways, and all the information is collected in the field and loaded directly into the system. Our system works with a number of different platforms, Explorer, Safari, Google Chrome. It's also compatible with a number of different mobile devices, including Apple, Microsoft, and some of the Droid-type tablets. Since the annual reports for inspection, so again, this provides for more transparency and more accessibility. The different types of things that we use our mobile devices for to improve efficiency in our bridge inspection is also getting access to all of the information within the system out into the field. Where mobile devices can be used to access the information, we also develop and track all of our inspection forms directly online. Also the use of cell phones, audio note apps, video chat applications, and other things are also supportive to the field staff. Additional resources that are accessible through the web using mobile devices include our structure inventory data, previous inspection reports, our inspection forms that are fillable that can be filled right there on their devices, different worksheets and note sheets, manuals and guidelines for reference, and even instruction videos for additional guidance. Per the federal highway requirements, states must ensure that follow-up actions are taken for bridges with critical findings to resolve these safety issues. This mobile technology allows us to take advantage of tracking and documenting critical findings and the actions that are taken to resolve those safety issues. The system sends immediate notifications to the bridge owners and MDOT bridge management personnel describing conditions, providing photos of the existing situation that is found in the field. High priority deficiencies are identified and an automated tracking process ensures proper follow-up documentation is completed. Bridge owners can instantly complete network level condition analysis and determine repairs for long-range work planning. MDOT's mission is to have a complete electronic bridge file, and our MyBridge will be the portal to store and locate this information. We hope to have all of our bridge-related information together, structure inventories, bridge plans, inspection reports, maintenance records, and the like. We're also using 3D technology to assist our inspectors in the field. The 3D models are generated using a gaming technology along with the inventory information stored within the database. Currently, the inspectors draw sketches and make notes on the paper reports as the locations and the type of defects. The use of the mobile devices and 3D technology allows our inspectors to collect specific defect information simply by selecting a point on the bridge and entering the quantity and the types of defects. Using the 3D modeling technology has been very efficient and helps us save money in the long run. And all of our MyBridge system is compatible with AASHTO's BRM software. Although moving to these mobile technologies is proved to improve efficiencies and ultimately save money, there is a cost to implement. Applications and systems must be developed, devices must be purchased, and the workforce needs to be trained on their operations. Those who have taken this journey feel that the long-term benefits significantly outweigh the upfront costs of implementation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. That was awesome. It looks like we have lots of questions over here in the chat box. I think we only will get to a couple, and then some of these are more general, and we probably will, use them in the discussion later. We do ask about whether we have, David Essie is talking about what system are you using for e-signatures? DocuSign, Adobe.
Right now, we're just using Adobe. We are looking to go into a system-wide e-signature process we can use. We've looked at EcoSign and a couple others, but currently we're using the Adobe technology and just transferring the PDF documents back and forth.
Okay, awesome. And then we heard that VTrans uses eSign Live for e-signatures, which sounds kind of cool. So I think we do have several people answering our poll about which of the following mobile applications you use, because related to this, we have questions on, what kind of staff do you have that develops these applications? I'm not sure that we have enough time to go over all that right now. I'm going to try to get our next presentation up. Turns out that, okay. Sounds good. So, how many people voted? 60. All right, and I think we're having our meeting lines are better, our problems are better than they were. I think we're going to go ahead and close that poll and get our next presenter to start so we can hear from our other 4 presenters here. There we go. So, Lisa from Utah DOT, can you go ahead?
Thanks. Good morning, everyone. There were 3 different apps that UDOT has developed recently that I'm going to be giving brief overviews on. Our goal in Utah is to keep Utah moving. We have strategic goals, emphasis areas, mission, statement, and a vision that all support this, so all of our projects that we work on, especially the mobile applications, all fit into that. So this is a snapshot of the state of Utah, and TATS stands for Traveler Advisory Telephone System. So just by the acronym, you can tell that some of the resources and the applications that we have been using are pretty old. So our winter reporting season in Utah is November 1st through mid-April, and our geography really varies quite a bit. We have mountain summits that have roads that go over them at about 10,000 feet, and then we have valleys and desert as well. So all of the routes that you see here on this slide are the reporting routes throughout the entire state that our plow crews and meteorologists are responsible for reporting on and keeping up to date. And one of the reasons why we launched the first app that I'm going to talk about, our Citizen Reporter app, was because we were hearing pretty loud and clear from our traveling public that they couldn't trust some of our info because it was 6, 8, 10 hours old, and they didn't know if the condition was current or if the condition had changed and the route info had not been updated. So our simple solution was to create a conduit for them, the traveling public, to be able to report their observations to UDOT. And we did launch the Citizen Reporter app in the fall of 2012. And this is a snapshot of the before and after for our traveler information. So the screenshot that you see in the red circle there is one of our segments. And it's actually from after the app was launched, but we're using it for a good example of comparison. Each one of those red dots that you see green within that red circle are a report. They could be a report from a plow crew, a member of the traveling public, one of our meteorologists, local law enforcement. But unfortunately, there's only over a period of time when there could be a lot of changing weather patterns or road conditions happening. And the screenshots that you see on the left side are two of our other routes where you can see once we recommended to the public and asked for their support and help and got some more reporters online, we're getting a lot more granularity in our reports and a lot more data coming back. And it's also very easy to see outlying reports. We've heard from users of our Citizen Reporter app that from time to time they may hit the submit button a little bit premature and they may submit a report that's inaccurate, but they just go right back in, they fix the report, and then they report again, which is why you may see a green dot and a red dot at the same time. But what we've heard from the users of the app and the people that are able to see this data is they can really tell kind of the path of the storm and when a plow comes by based on the information that's available here. And all of this information appears on our public-facing UDOT Traffic website as well as our UDOT Traffic app. So it's available to everyone, not just volunteer reporters within the system. So the app screenshots that you see here, the app interface is pretty simple. There's a drop-down list where you can select your segment. There's a reporting time feature where if you observe a condition while you're driving, we certainly don't want people to report while they're driving. So there's a timestamp feature where when you reach a safe location, you can report your conditions after you reach your location. There is also some additional functionality for the plow drivers and for their reporting, where they can set restrictions from the app and also note if they're working or if they're on a break or what route specificity they would like to share. So this is the internal side of the UDOT Traffic Citizen Reporter app, and the plow drivers prior to this app only had two options. It was a desktop computer at their shed, or it was the 511 Traveler Information phone line where they punch numbers and submit their reports that way. And all of the sheds had some pretty creative ways of determining who was going to sit back at the shed, or they would do rock, paper, scissors, or they would have a rotation where their spouse at home would be required to log in. So this interface, even though it's very simple, is really a great resource for them, for our plow crews to be able to log in and submit their reports. So how it's been streamlining the way that we do business, we essentially have an entirely new set of data that we didn't have before. And instead of us hearing from the traveling public through social media and phone calls and dispatch, relaying messages, it really provides a consistent way for us to get the information. And the plow drivers are certainly using it as well. And development-wise, it was really a fraction of the cost of some of our other road weather methods. So another tool that we're using is the UDOT Click and Fix app. We did a launch to the public earlier this year, but we did an internal launch in mid-2014, so we were able to use the platform and kind of figure it out. The public-facing front really did not exist. The brand is C-Click Fix, but UDOT rebranded it UDOT Click and Fix, so people can find it more easily within Utah here. We had some good media coverage when we launched it, which helped us to be able to get people to use the app. So the public-facing side of the UDOT Click and Fix app, the user really logs into the system. They go to the UDOT Traffic app or website, and they can log reports as well. And then internally, the report gets routed to a predetermined person via an email notification, and that person can log in, acknowledge, comment, etc. And for us, it really provides a one-stop shop for all UDOT issues statewide. So rather than the previous issue, which was really no tracking whatsoever, you would have to be privy to the comment or complaint from the public to be in the loop. And this puts it all in one place for us, which is really great. This is the dashboard site where we can look at the reporting features. Our UDOT leadership looks at this pretty much every day. and we can see what issues are closed, which ones are still open, how long it's taking to clear, acknowledge, and a significant amount of time really went into this back-end side of things. So I'm not sure if you can see the details there. It's pretty small, but since the launch, there were just under 2,000 issues fixed. 655 of those were traffic signals, about 300 were potholes, almost 200 for signage, and then the remainder are a combination of ramp meters, vegetation, guardrail repair, graffiti, and that sort of thing. So it's really helped us quite a bit by, as I mentioned, providing a one-stop shop for all of our issues. There's fewer duplicate issues where two different groups within UDOT are essentially working on clearing the same issue. We've got a lot more complete info for motorists within the initial report. We've done a lot of work on the back end to customize our drop-down menus, so the information that we need up front is provided on the request from the public versus us going back and forth and finding out additional details. Is this northbound? Is it southbound? Is it an off-ramp or a main line? So it really helped us quite a bit. And the final app I wanted to mention is our UDOT lane. And unlike the other two, this is actually an internal-facing app. So this app was developed after a challenge from our leadership. How do we report on every road throughout the state in real time and in advance? And the in advance part is somewhat self-explanatory, but anyone that's ever attended a construction project meeting knows that by the time you leave the meeting, there may have been schedule changes, so it's very hard to do the real-time component. So we really understood through our quality improvement team meetings that we needed to have a mobile-friendly solution, and our lane closure app is the solution here. So from the field, registered contractors can activate, cancel, modify lane closures in real time. There is a push notification feature. There's a significant amount of reporting available on the internal side. So the construction alert report that you see on the bottom of the screen is not through the app, that's through our back-end software. But we launched the lane closure app last year, and we began testing in part last year, but mostly in early 2015 in a real-world environment. And the great news is that contractors are actually very excited about this. They understand the impacts that their construction site can create and mitigate that. The contractors know that there's a lot of interest from the UDOT region directors and from district and region engineers to provide good info, so they're certainly happy about that. So this has helped us in many ways that we didn't anticipate. Because there was so much enthusiasm for it across the board, we've had a lot of great feedback where people can add information into the app, and instead of people saying, oh great, this is another tool that we're being forced to use, they say, hey, this is really great, but have you considered adding these features to it? So we've had a really great response there. So that was a very quick overview, but I'm happy to help and answer questions now or offline. So thank you.
So yeah, thank you, Lisa. That was awesome, and I appreciate you being in our timing really well here. We do have lots of questions for you as well as for Mark. So one question is, was the Citizen Reporter app developed in-house?
It was developed partially in-house, but we have a contractor on call that can help us with implementation and design. So we did build it from the ground up, but we did use some of our contractor support for it.
Okay, and so then how do you validate the input received? So I'm not sure if that, which app that's for, but I think that does apply to all these apps.
Yeah, if it's for our Citizen Reporter program, I'm going to assume it is because we get that question quite often. There's a couple of different ways. We make everyone go through a very short training before they're even allowed access to the app, and that helps to cut down on your definition of snow-covered may be something different than my definition of snow-covered. And we did have our road weather meteorologists verifying and approving every single report that we got in at first. However, that's really not a very streamlined approach, and it would actually add more work and devalue the information that we're getting from the traveling public. So between the training program, the ability now where all reports, as soon as they're submitted, are going to the public, for the public to be able to see if a report is outlying, as well as automated monthly reports, where if we have someone that is constantly submitting erroneous data, we have a great body of reporters right now, and we have over 600 people that are voluntarily submitting data to us. We'll just uncheck the box, and they can keep submitting as long as they'd like. We just won't use their data anymore. So, but thankfully, we haven't had any of those issues, and to date, well, actually, the end of this last reporting season, we had over 99% accuracy. So we have really found that if people do report erroneously, it's an error, not on purpose to skew the data.
Wow, that sounds awesome. So I'm kicking myself that I haven't talked about these polls. We are doing a poll right now. What are the barriers to using mobile technologies at your organization? And so it's sort of even, where 45% are saying that platforms aren't available. Another 44% use of mobile is restricted, and et cetera. So we probably didn't say there are no barriers we should have had as a response here. But with that, I think we're going to close the poll and then go ahead and get ready for our Thank you.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. It's a little bit soft.
Try it like this. Hello, everyone. I have a lot to cover in a very brief period of time. Each of our initiatives could merit their own hour-long presentation. I do apologize for the brevity, but without further delay, let's get to the app that I'm presenting today. We have 4 working apps currently. We've got Culvert Inventory and Inspection, our mobile work request for roadway inspections, sign inventory, and the maintenance assessment program. At this time, none of these are public-facing applications. They are just internal applications. We started our mobile endeavors with the Apple iPad for culvert inventory and inspections. Our pilot program used 10 iPads and a system based off of Apple's version of Microsoft Access FileMaker. We quickly found that the app would pay for itself, the iPads, and the cellular services within 6 weeks of inspections. We had so much success with the pilot program that we transitioned to a statewide program. We are currently developing a native iOS app to replace the FileMaker app, which I will show you right now. The app allows the user to search for culverts within a specific area. The user then can select a specific culvert and it'll show up on the map. After selecting the culvert, the user will see the record, which shows location information. It will show construction information like what is the barrel type, liner type, and information about the inlet and outlet of that specific culvert. Also on the detail screen, the user is allowed to upload and view any pictures related to that culvert. And finally, on the detail screen, the user will be able to see GPS information, update that GPS information, and access any assessments done to that culvert. Inspectors can enter new assessments by grading numerous criteria. In this screenshot, the user can answer if an inlet head wall or apron exists. If so, those features can be graded by condition. If the inspector doesn't know the numerical scale on which to grade the feature, touching the eye will pop up the tooltip to define the different grades. No manuals are needed in the field with this app. Being our first mobile app on a new consumer-based product found its challenges. We had to demonstrate to our senior management and our IT department the viability of the new platform. We also had some growing pains going from 10 iPads to a statewide program. Because cellular coverage can be so spotty in areas, a server-based system, online only, didn't work very well for us. Growing number of iPads also meant that we needed to invest in a mobile device management software. Our next project was an adaptation of our citizen work request portal to enter day and nighttime roadway inspections. Our in-house programmers developed a device-independent HTML5 web app that primarily functions in an offline mode to reduce the dependence on a network connection. The app shows, and I know it's kind of light, shows the type of work requested, the location of that work to be done, and it also shows an assessment of what is needed to complete the work, all of which can be done right in the field. Requester contact information is available as well in the event that they need to be contacted from the field. Using in-house resources for us can be challenging because we are competing with other departments. This app, though, has been widely accepted and liked by most of our users. We found that the HTML5 apps are sufficient for simple field data collection. The app is saving our county managers and inspectors tons of time by being able to assess requests right there in the field. Our largest and most complex app is our road sign inventory and management app. It was developed as an iOS native app by a consultant. We have been barcoding road signs for 13 years now with no means of reading those barcodes. We use a specific Motorola barcode scanner that is compatible with the iPads. Our forecasted savings is approximately $500,000 a year due to reduced paperwork. This app works a great deal offline as well as to reduce that dependence on a network connection, but it does require a little more network connection time to access all of its features. We have developed this app and deployed it to all of our sign employees. I have nowhere near the time that I need to show you all of the features of this app, but this is the main assembly screen. As you see, it shows the location of the assembly along with a map. It also shows signs attached to that assembly. If the user taps on a linked sign, it will show the details of that specific sign. The user can also perform functions like unlinking the sign from the assembly and replacing the sign from the screen as well. As with many large projects, scope creep was a real challenge. As we progressed through the project, we saw more functionality was needed. With additional functionality came additional funding needs, and we all know how hard it is to get more money. Because we deployed this app to all of our sign employees, we had a large learning curve. Many employees had never used the computer-based sign module for which the mobile app was replacing. Even with the learning curve, we are getting good feedback on the ease of use. One major benefit we got from this app was the ability of correcting data issues in the field. Our most recent mobile app is the Maintenance Assessment Program app, used by our 5-person inspection team. This app was developed in-house as an HTML5 app like Work Request. It replaces an old Visual Basic SQL Server application and paper clipboard style field data collection. The app allows our team to randomly select sections of roadway and then grade the different elements of the roadway, like pavement, shoulders, ditches, drainage structures, vegetation, sidewalks, signs, pavement markings, and guardrail. All of these evaluations help us determine what level of service we're providing our citizens. Again, we had to compete with in-house resources for this app development. It is brand new, so we're still in the learning process for the app, but already see a savings of 16 plus hours of data entry per month per inspector. We're currently developing specifications for guardrail inventory and inspection. Soon we would like to expand our road sign application and make our sign shop operations paperless. Ultimately, we would like to allow our 500 plus foremen enter their daily work reports in the field on a mobile device. As you see, mobile technology is transforming how we conduct the business of road maintenance. In an era of budget cuts, the mobile apps are helping us do more with less. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chris. That was awesome and awesome timing. So we do have a bunch of questions and people putting things on the chat box. I think a lot of the chat was responses to what your personal barriers are for using using these devices. But a question for Chris is whether the apps are developed using Visual Basic. And I think you sort of mentioned that some of these you're replacing Visual Basic.
Right. The two in-house apps, the HTML5 apps, are using visualbasic.net. So yes, the in-house apps, the programmers do use the newest version of Visual Basic.
That's cool because there's been some discussion that way things can be updated and we can deal with changing mobile devices.
Right.
So what about, does the mobile tech changing app have some type of database on the mobile device?
Yes. All of our apps, whether it be the native iOS apps that we're having developed by a consultant or those HTML5 apps, they all have at least some sort of database residing on the app itself, on the device itself.
Okay, I think that's very helpful. We did put up a question sort of off the beaten path here of how frequently your organization monitors third-party mobile applications for traffic, just to give an idea. Not that many people have responded, so I think we can go ahead and close that app and get ready for our next presenter. Can you talk?
All right, thank you. My name is Alice Grossman. I'm a graduate student at Georgia Tech, and I'm going to talk a little bit about an outreach initiative that we did with some sixth graders at a local elementary school right by Georgia Tech. So I'm going to give an overview of the school and the program and then go into the technologies that we use with the students there. Let's see, there we go. So the objective behind this project, the reason that we went over was really to create a community between Georgia Tech and Centennial Place Academy, which is right down the street from us. And it was to get these students interested in transportation STEM subjects in general, so that they'd be able to understand what transportation and transportation engineering were, and understand how technology fits into transit fields. We had the students collect their own data, analyze data, and then present what they had found using the technologies that we worked with them on. So the school, one of the advantages to working at Centennial was that it is right next to us, so it's part of our own community. Also, the school itself is values project-based learning and bringing things like outreach into the classroom when they can. It's the first Atlanta Public School charter conversion, so it was also exciting to be able to work with them at that time. And it's a diverse student body with a lot of students that are in groups that are underrepresented in STEM and in transportation specifically. So reaching out to those students at a young age was something that was important to us, especially when you look at trends about getting students involved at a young age to keep those numbers up through bachelor's, master's, and PhD levels, and keeping a diverse workforce that's familiar with the field and technology and et cetera. The technologies that we used with them was both using technology that they're familiar with, but then also some sort of cutting-edge stuff that we've been working on at Georgia Tech right now. So we were using smartphones, tablets, and computers that all of the students pretty much were already familiar with for games and using at home. But then the software that we used was stuff that we're working on in our lab for things like pedestrian accessibility and vehicle counting and travel diary data collection. So they were able to learn about these technologies and transportation engineering concepts through the technologies that they're already semi-familiar with. So here I'll start off with the tablet software that we used with them. Here's two screenshots from the two tablet programs that we use, both developed in our lab at Georgia Tech. One of them, the first one on the left, is the Sidewalk Sentry app, and that is used to collect data to inventory and do quality rating for sidewalks. We collect video, accelerometer, gyroscope, and GPS position data, and from that we're able to see where the sidewalks meet certain ADA compliance, such as sidewalk width, and vibration, such as smoothness and slip-resistant surfaces. And so we use that with the students to look at the pedestrian walkways in their own school environment, once again sort of combining what they're familiar with some new concepts at the same time. And then we also use the video vehicle counting app that we developed, which is that plugs into GDOT cameras, and so we're looking right there at the interstate going right through the middle of the city. That's another thing that the students are familiar with. And this app will automatically grab cars and basically do a vehicle count, but then also allows for a manual revision to make sure, basically do a QA/QC and get more accurate counts and see what's happening electronically behind it. So then we also use some mobile apps. We're developing multiple mobile apps in our lab. The one that we worked with the students on was the Commute Warrior, which is an electronic travel diary. And because some of our human subjects reviews can get a little bit complicated, unfortunately we weren't able to give the students mobile phones and use the app at home to collect their own travel diary data. But we were able to have them fill out paper travel diaries and then compare it to the electronic travel diary setting. So what the Commute Warrior software does is it works in background, and it collects GPS for the user second by second, triggering whenever there's an accelerometer jerk to start a trip. And so you can see in the image here, you get data for whatever days you leave the house, and it maps it for you there automatically, and then you get this little pop-up automatically generated travel diary that you can just click on and fill in a trip purpose on the travel diary page there. So part of the reason that we tried to use these technologies with the students in the classroom was to really combine their everyday life with technology and let students experience field data collection on their own. So they were using these technologies to go out and collect the data. We then have them upload them onto their own school computers and figure out how to create data visualization that they could then present to their peers and their teachers and bring home to their parents. And we're really hoping that they would be able to understand the research process, which they can then expand to other STEM fields, and then use other skills that they know, like working in teams and do critical thinking, basic statistics and math, and communication skills as well. So the framework for our program was we went in May for about a half day for 2 hours and worked with the entire 5th grade class of 82 students. We did an overview and then split them up and had them working on different modules. We did a transportation mode choice, a travel diary, and the pedestrian accessibility. We kind of came back and debriefed, and then we came back again in October when they have an extra week, and we were able to work with them for 2 full days in a row to really dive into this idea of the research process and data collection, analysis, and presentation. And so that was with a group who self-selected, so we were with 19 students. And once again, they got to rotate through different modules, but then sort of each focused in on one project that they've then presented to their peers. So here's a few examples of the way that we used technology in these modules with them. And when we went in May, so this was like a 45-minute module that we did with the travel diaries, we had students compare the manual data collection to the electronic data collection. And in this way, they're able to compare both the experience of what it's like. They know what it's like to carry around a smartphone and get this, background data feed that you can then look up. And we had them sit down and fill out travel diaries, which is something that anybody who's ever done is not the most exhilarating or fun thing to do. So the students got to experience the survey fatigue is like when you're trying to do that kind of data collection as a transportation professional. And then we sat down and we had a discussion about the benefits of both ways and what you can get out of the data when you collect it manually and electronically. And they love the smartphone version a lot more than the paper one. So then when we came back in October, we did 2 full-day activities with the tablet apps that I talked about. So one of those was the pedestrian accessibility, and once again we had them comparing manual and electronically collected data. So we brought in wheelchairs that the students could sit in and use manually, and then we also had ones that you can see like in this image here where you strap the tablet into the wheelchair and they're able to collect all of that data electronically, and then they get that from the tablet, which they can upload and analyze in Excel. So they were able to have that experience of using a wheelchair around their school and see what the pedestrian accessibility felt like. And then they also did manual measurements with tape measurers and smart levels. And they were also able to look at what the vibration and width data looked like out of the tablet and actually see a measurement compared to the experience that they had. The other full-day module that we did with them with the tablets was traffic engineering. And so this is kind of going to, the basic undergraduate Introduction to Transportation 101 class doing vehicle counts. And we had them do the same thing, do a manual versus an automated. So they watched, since we didn't take them out to a street corner, we had them watching a video with a clipboard and a tally. And they were tallying up the car counts. And then they had this version with the tablet where you can watch the video, you can go back and you can review. And it's really just sort of a click and touch when you see a vehicle instead of having to keep track of everything on the clipboard tally. And this we had the same discussion sort of wrap up afterwards, talking about the advantages and disadvantages of automated versus manual data collection. And they did some basic statistics to compare the accuracy of both as well. At the end, they all presented to their peers on the module that they focused in on. And this was a really nice way to finish up. It not only meant that they had to visualize and analyze their own data, but then they put it into a PowerPoint, and they also did a little flyer to bring home to their parents. So it was a sort of all-inclusive experience for them, and they ended up with something to take home and a way for us to assess their learning and see how they've done over the past couple of days. Overall, it was a great experience as a graduate student, working over there with them as a mentor-mentee kind of. We brought some undergrads over with them. The students seemed really excited. They were excited about the technology. We thought it was great too because these students, they're used to using smartphones and tablets. So if we tell them to go count with a pencil and paper, that's what seems foreign to them. Whereas a lot of people in the professional world, it's kind of the other way around, that we're used to doing things the manual way, and we're trying to introduce technology. So by bringing this to them early on in the classroom, we think it's a good way to really expand the field and get technology built into our field from an early and young age. All the materials that we developed are up online, and so there's the website down at the bottom. You can see transportation.ce.gov.edu. There's an outreach page. Our apps are also mostly publicly available. We have the Commute Warrior Travel Diary app, and then there's also Sidewalk application that we didn't use with the students, but crowdsourcing sidewalk data collection, which I think a lot of people might also be interested. You can find those on the Google Play Store and Apple stores. I think that's it. And we have time for any questions.
Yeah, thank you, Alice. That was awesome. I think we've had a lot of discussion on the left here about using HTML5, Visual Basic, also, that maybe some of these, questions about can these things be used for M-learning, and if there's interest in Adobe Presenter, Adobe Connect. But back to Alice, question about using mobile technologies in your organization. Alice, one person wrote that Commute Warrior looks nice and clean. I absolutely agree with them. But what uses do you see, another person asked, what uses do you see for the Commute Warrior app and the Commute Journal? And then somebody asked, maybe it could be used for rideshare. Do you have comments along those lines?
Right now we're using it as a basic travel diary data collection app. So since most regional agencies, or state agencies too, will do their travel behavior modeling based on travel diary data collection, the Commute Warrior app is data instead of the paper diary data. And there's a lot of advantages to that, such as survey fatigue that I mentioned, but also accuracy. A lot of people aren't reporting the trip across the street to buy milk. They don't think of that as a trip. But if they carry their phone across the street, we see that they took that trip. So there's a lot of advantages and disadvantages too, of course, to doing travel diary data collection through the mobile technologies.
Wow, that's kind of cool. And again, we're going to have some time for questions at the end here, but I'm eager to get to our last presenter. So thank you, Alice. And I'm going to go ahead and close our polls of what is the impact of using in your organization. And we had several people answer mostly positive and extremely positive. For you personally, it's overwhelmingly extremely positive and positive. So I think those are very interesting questions.
Work for a company called Atkins, and it's more about the end user, I suppose. So I'll just quickly skip the agenda. So who are Atkins? Well, we're a big multidisciplinary engineering consultancy. We tend to work on very big, iconic projects. So here's the Hoover Dam, and we did the construction management for the concrete bridge there. But I work in ITS and specifically in control room operations. And so you can probably tell by the accent, it's a bit of a giveaway that I'm not working in the US at the moment. I'm actually based in the United Kingdom, but for the past 4 years, I was actually based in Atlanta and then in Milwaukee in Wisconsin. And so I've done work with a range of DOTs and in a range of control rooms. And one thing I can say from working internationally is that there are a lot of challenges and a lot of experiences that are very common. It doesn't really matter which country you work in or which state you work in. Control rooms have a lot of things in common. Some of the processes may change and some of the technologies may change, but dealing with the people and the challenges that can create from an end user perspective, they happen quite a lot across the world, actually. So when I started to think about the impact of mobile technology on the workforce in a control room, I kept coming back to this thought that, well, mobile is actually an enabler for lots of other technologies and functionalities to happen. And so the things that come into a control room isn't necessarily just the mobile technology itself, it's all of the range of the other things that it allows to happen. So when you think about all of the systems that exist in traditional ITS, things are changing in that world. There's lots of devices and functions and systems and new interfaces with the control room. I think technology is getting smaller, it's getting cheaper, easier to access and locate, and so it's happening all over in terms of the DOTs and locations too. And as a result, there's lots and lots more tools for control room operators to use and deal with. So we've already heard today about maintenance, about construction, about temporary cameras that might be fixed on a mobile VMS, you name it, we're doing it, and mobile technology is enabling it to happen. But as a result of lots of functionality and broad scope, you get this long tail of systems. So there's a trend in the UK, and I know it's already actually happened in the US, where you have centralized systems that integrate devices or integrate functions or integrate, inputs with data from apps. And in the UK, we're building those with future technology in mind too. So it's interesting from a control room perspective that we're going back from the proliferation of lots of different devices and lots of different sources of information into a single desktop interfaces. Now, that's true. It doesn't change the complexity. There's still a lot of information out there. And so that's challenges that we really deal with. And I'll come a little bit onto how to do that with operators in a minute. So even if we streamline, there's lots of devices, lots of information, and we've heard about where they're being used out on the road, and certainly in Wisconsin they're used on scene in incident management too. Getting that combination of a bird's eye view from CCTV in traditional control room, and then that worm's eye view when you've got people using their devices at the roadside, and I would include the general public in that, and crowdsourcing information from things like Twitter and Facebook. You can get a much bigger, richer view of the information of what's happening actually out on the road. 501, we've heard about 501. That's another really good example of where we might use floodgates to go straight into the palm of someone sitting in a car as who's actually experiencing whatever's happening on the road. And that citizen reporter app, that's something also that we've used in Wisconsin for road hazard identification as part of 511. So there's this two-way flow of information, which is quite a new thing for the control room when it isn't necessarily people calling up and having a conversation. So the dynamic has changed really. The role of an operator has become as much about information and knowledge management as intervention and traffic operations. So the interesting to me is that there's a shift happening. And when you have these lots of little new technology pieces that come in, you've got change, and it's happening incrementally. I think what's interesting is that when you have big systems like ERP systems put into organization, huge, massive government IT projects, and you get big integrators and big consultants behind them. We're told all about this great story of transformational change enabled by IT, but what we're all doing on a day-to-day basis in this small incremental way is still transformational change. It's just in a much quieter way. And so I think the way that you can realize benefits and efficiencies from that is partly paying attention to it and noting where it's successful, but also seeing that shifts happen not just through the functionality that's introduced, but as a result, the capability that changes in an organization because of those. And that happens because of the people and the way that an organization learns as this new technology is brought online. So it kind of goes without saying that operators need to be smart, and I know I'm probably preaching to the converted in this audience, but certainly it's a trend we're seeing both in the US and the UK that we can't think of the control room just as a contact center. It's a skill set that operators have that is upskilled, in fact, from where it used to be. It's a trend we're seeing both in the US and the UK. We're incorporating more and more functionality into software. We're creating these fantastic new apps that allow us to collaborate and do these exciting things. Huge potential, lots of sophistication, but as a result, there's a lot more information to manage. It's still human beings at the moment, not automated robots that are synthesizing that information and pushing it out to the general public or to first responders. So that need to be capable of making greater, more well-informed decisions is essential. And I'd also say that control rooms, the scope of their locations is changing, so it's not just necessarily looking interstates, we're looking at incorporating arterial routes, and so the scope of that is also impacting the need for operators to be more skilled. So that's another dynamic that's changing, that the road user will always expect more synthesized information, reliability of information. It needs to be timely, and woe betide you get a VMS that's not in sync with what Waze or what Google is telling you at a particular time. And of course that creates its own political and PR pressure on traffic operations too. And that's something we've all experienced. Being at the front end of operations can be quite an exposed place to be sometimes. So what's the solution? Well, here's some ideas. I think we probably need to think a little bit differently. I think we've talked a lot about training, and people have rightly said how important it is when you put new things in that users need to be properly trained. But I think it isn't enough on its own. I think as organizations, we probably need to think about developing operators and a skill set differently. So there's upskilling, but we know we've got a gap between control room operations and traffic engineers. If we can plug some of that gap, then you can also meet the need to look at 24/7 operations, or if you think about things as not a run-of-the-mill or a contact center type environment, then maybe we can think about our operators as a system admin. You think about all of the increasing dependency on technology. There are certain skill sets that I think we could in a control room that would take some of the stress off of IT in the organization. I suppose it's shifting to a new way of thinking about it. I'd also say that change and all of these new things coming in all the time create a very behavioral reaction within the organization itself. So within the control room, there may be a perceived threat for the technology. So as things are coming in, people might feel that their role is being made redundant. So that's something that also needs paying attention to and being carefully managed. And I think when you build something that's a bit bigger than just training and you're thinking about operator skill sets and personal development, that's a much more positive place to talk about efficiency and that one door may close but another one opens for individuals. And again, similarly, I think there's a fear of this threat of automation, especially with talk of driverless vehicles and connected vehicles, and that really, we know that that's happening. I think there's a fear factor in control rooms that that's going to take over in some way those people's roles, but ultimately there's still a need to have that function in DOTs and in highways departments, certainly in the UK too. That's not going away anytime soon. So if we can position ourselves as organisations and our staff to meet future needs as well as what's needed right now, this minute, to resolve an incident, I think we'll be in a very good place. So I think that really what I'm trying to say is that mobile technology actually just creates change. It doesn't matter what the new app or the functionality is, it's creating incremental change that's affecting the transportation workforce all of the time. So we know that it unlocks huge potential. We know that it moves us towards a new way of operating. We think that it's going to provide us with enhanced service and value for money, and that's always a driver for a lot of these initiatives that we've heard already today. And we know that it positions us for even bigger change in the future. And so I think really my final point is to achieve the full benefits of the functions that these systems and that these devices and that these apps give us. We need to position ourselves optimally and remember that to create lasting value, and that's really when you go back to thinking about it as transformational change, that people are really the enabling factor. We have to engage the users, we have to make sure that they're trained and that they feel when they come into work that they want to use those functions to get involved and to push that information out to the road user and to the first responder. And I think that takes time and energy. That takes it from us as organisations to champion the users, to recognise when there's successful. There'll always be the things that go wrong in operations, but we also need to make sure that we're rewarding the things when they go really well. And I think if we can recognise those lasting sustainable changes that happen at an organisational level when new technology comes in, then we can open lots more doors for people and we can probably get rid of some of the fear factor too. Thanks.
Great, thank you, Joe. That was just when I said, wait, it's over 10 minutes, please wrap up. So I appreciate all that. So again, we're going to go, we have two more polls to close this. There's been a lot of discussion about, whether, sort of the life of these apps in the cloud and this kind of thing, but maybe, I think that Joe talked about training and maybe some of the others can talk about this, but there is a big question of what kind of training have entities developed to train their current, in the current technologies, and what kind of challenges have they encountered? So, Joe, you did already mention that. Did you talk about the challenges?
I think that I've personally seen a range of approaches, and I think that the the best results come when you think about it from a lots of different angles, rather than, there necessarily being, well, let's put a 4-hour training course on in an afternoon and that will be enough. We'll go through all the functionality and then let you go. What I've seen work best is when you have that classroom-based mixed with other modes. So if you have someone actually out on the floor with operators, if you're putting in new, there's someone there as support who can assist and coach almost in a very one-to-one way initially, and then someone who's just there supporting in the background, and organizational level things. So if you want someone to become, for example, a champion or a super user in a particular system, that can tie into personal development. So then it's a win-win. You get someone who feels engaged and like they want to go and learn about something and become excellent in the use of this particular app. And as an organization, you have someone you can go to who's always, the point of contact for that functionality, and can end up training other users as well on the floor. So it's the mixed approach, I think, and thinking of a bigger picture of individuals and their capability, rather than just having that, maybe that, half-hour session for training on one occasion.
Right, and I think there was a related question earlier about whether there's age differences and sort of interest in these apps, and the ability to adapt to these apps.
I think absolutely, multi-generational workforces and aptitudes towards different types of technology, especially when you're using lots of different systems in the control room anyway, that's a challenge. But I mean, I suppose that good training and good personal development programs consider the needs of the individual, and so if you have a range of capability, I think you can probably expect to have a range of capability, but it may mean that you use one of those super users or champions to be the coach for someone who's struggling a little bit, or really struggling to engage with the device or something like that. I think it needs thinking about from an individual as well as the one-size-fits-all perspective.
Right. So thank you, Joe. I mean, I think this is all very good. I think there are lots more questions here, sort of to start the discussion. We do have these 2 poll questions about when you think your organization is going to be, using a mobile app, and whether it'll be a newly developed app or a third-party app. I'm kind of interested in these results where half the people are already using apps. Definitely another 40% say that they plan to be using. I'm a little surprised that people do not, think that apps don't apply to them and that they won't be using apps, that those weren't chosen as responsive. And then also, half of them are going to be developing their own apps. So I think this is all very interesting. So with that, I am hoping that, we've heard from a couple of organizations that have mobile applications. Definitely please tell us about it. We will try to compile all these. It will be available .ly link, TRB Mobile Tech Webinar that's on the page here. So just before we continue to answer all the questions, and I think I've opened everybody's speaker line, we are going to have another webinar for this committee in September. So innovative methods for teaching transportation. I don't think it'll be this one where it's going to be co-sponsored with the APTA High Technologies Committee. So I think we're using APTA's platform, the Public Transportation Association. But I'm hoping that many of you guys join us again and talk about innovative methods for teaching transportation. So with that, we do have lots and lots of questions. Again, I will put, and that's September 17th is that app. But I will put this up with my email address again, and to just remind people to be sending things in. Hopefully people are going to be muting as appropriate. So back to Utah, there were lots and lots of questions. So what are the legal concerns with having the Click and Fix app and using while driving? Lisa, can you respond to that?
Sure. So all of our apps, mobile applications, our 511 system, we always stress that you're not supposed to be using it while you're driving. Sometimes if people have a passenger, we encourage them to submit the information for them or use the app for them to find traveler information en route. But the Click and Fix platform has a website component as well. So a majority of the info that we receive, based on how all of our apps are set up, it's actually, there's too many features and there's too many options to really use it while you're driving. So we haven't had much of a concern there just because we always stress that people should not use the apps while they're driving.
Okay. And so with that, is the reporting limited to state routes or only local agency routes?
It's limited to state routes, and we have that set up through base maps within the system. So if you try to drop a pin on a city street, it will let you know that that's not a UDOT road, and a majority of the time, the correct agency and their DPW phone number or their front desk phone number will show up recommending that it's not a UDOT road and you can contact that agency.
Oh, that's kind of cool. So, and can people submit pictures for the citizen reporter?
No, they can't right now, but that's one of the things that we are considering adding. But a majority of our users have not mentioned that they are carpoolers. We have that as a checkbox within the sign-up system. So to combat people using the app while they were driving, we haven't added the picture feature yet. But there is a free text box where people can submit additional info if they need to, like they just saw a plow come through, or it's getting foggy, or the temperature's dropping, things like that.
Awesome. Okay, so then the next set of questions are for, I think, all three of you, Lisa, Mark, and Chris, about who you need. So somebody's go ahead and given the link for downloading these presentations. They're also in the left column. You should be able to click on each presentation and download. But so just for what kind of staff do you need to develop the apps? You know, in-house. If you've had them in-house, what are the challenges of having them? You know, there's a lot, and I'm hopefully I will find other related questions. So that would be for Mark, Chris, or Lisa.
Yeah, this is Mark Chappett. We do work with our IT department, who usually has a number of contract developers on staff. They're supporting our full system, but also available to help development of these new applications. As others mentioned, it is a challenge to pull their time off of other activities, supporting the entire DOT to do some specific app development. But those are just priority choices that need to be made from an executive level. We do sometimes go out to contract and go out to private vendors to do some development as well.
And
Right, yeah.
this is Chris.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I underscore what Mark just said. We are looking at doing kind of a blend, something that he just referenced, and that is using our in-house IT resources, but a contract that they have to actually get in, augmented staff resources. So not actually using their personnel, using a contract through the IT department to do some more pointed development so that we're not taking away their resources.
Right, and so people are asking, like, how long has been development for these? Like, were there several iterations? I think people were asking whether the training and others were brought in early. So if you guys can respond to those kinds of questions.
Right. For SCDOT, the different apps, just due to their complexity, took different amounts of development time. The internal apps have seemed to go just a little quicker because, of course, these IT programmers kind of already know our business, whereas if we go out to contract, we have to get that consultant up to speed. Training-wise, so far it's been honestly me and some folks in my office that have done the training. So since we're the program managers, we're right there from day one. But we had a major cutback in our IT training staff um, after the economy tanked a couple years ago, and they're just now getting that staff back up to speed, and I would love to bring them in on board, but so far it's just been my office that has done the training.
Yeah. So Mark, do you have a question or response about how long it took to develop these and whether there were several iterations? Lisa?
Yeah, this is Mark. For our website conversion, that took probably 6 to 8 months, where we just took our standard website development, and then they looked at all the technology and script writing to convert it over to the web visible technology. Plus, we had small business teams that we put together to provide input on what types of documents and resources we wanted available, and then that was all coordinated and organized prior to the actual IT development process initiating.
And from the Utah side, the Citizen Reporter app took, I'm going to say probably 6 to 8 weeks to develop. We have not done any updates on it, but we have been considering adding some functionality to it. The Click and Fix app, I'm not the project manager for that. I believe that was a longer process just because the app was intact, but the back-end dashboard was not, so I think it was a longer process. And the lane closure app, the development was fairly quick. It was probably 8 weeks, but we did spend a significant amount of time building consensus within the agency before the app was launched. So when it was launched, it would be ready to use and people were familiar with it rather than just, here's a new tool to use, figure it out on your own. So there was quite a few years of back and forth consensus building before we launched it.
Oh, that's great. So there was another general question of, does the department provide the devices, and what is department policy on using personal devices? I think that was first Mark, but I think that's related to Chris as well, right? If you have your people running around using these.
Yeah, this is Mark. We've been providing, mobile devices, phones for a number of years as we started to get into the use of tablets and developing these mobile applications. We have been providing tablets out to our workforce, our construction workforce. A majority of them have tablets, and those are state provided. We're starting to look into some of the tablet laptop combos, which have a lot more versatility, the Surface Pros and the Lenovo ThinkPads, which could eliminate the dual need for having a PC back in the office and a tablet in the field. So we're working in a couple of those different environments. We've also, there was a question about personal devices. We've been piloting a bring your device to work policy where we'll provide a stipend to the employees, and those are just right now considered for cell phones, where we'd provide that stipend to an employee. They could bring and use their personal phone with their personal cell service in a work mode and get that stipend back from the employer.
And for South Carolina, I don't know if you guys heard a couple years ago, we had that big Department of Revenue breach. The whole state, many state agencies were going to a bring your own device type platform. And then when we had that breach at the Department of Revenue, everything was kind of put on halt. So right now, we provide our devices for users. The in-house HTML5 apps that we have could be accessed from anyone's device. So I have it on my personal iPhone, but so we don't restrict. You just have to know the link to get to that web application. But our consultant developed apps right now, there is no way to put them on a personal device. So I hope in the near future that we revisit that BYOD policy, because I think it's an awful waste for all of our employees to have these devices and not be able to leverage their personal devices and save the agency a ton of money.
Yeah, so I think several people have responded in the chat box about, whether they have devices or not. I think that's all pretty interesting. For the speakers, if you saw somebody had a question and you're eager to answer it, I think, please go ahead and speak. I realize that we're now at our 2:30 time, but we do have quite a few people still, in the webinar, hopefully listening to us. So if you saw a question, I think we've gone through most of the general questions and quite a few of the questions, but if I've missed one that you think is important, please speak up and answer.
Emily, this is Mark. I'm going to throw my email address out there in the chat box if anyone has any specific questions that they want to get to me. I didn't have any other questions to address, though. Thank you.
Yeah, no, well, thank you. So, yeah, I guess somebody asked about generational differences in use of the technology, and, I think Joe talked about a little bit of generational differences. I guess Mark, Lisa, and Chris, from the state DOT perspective, do you see generational differences?
Absolutely. This is Mark from Michigan. Yeah, some of the seasoned older employees, it's a difficult transition in some cases. The younger staff, especially the ones fresh out of college, have grown up with mobile technology, so they're geared up and ready to go. There is a little bit of a training that takes place, and sometimes we have to force things into the staff to get them to look at them, but once they're proficient at it, and once they start to utilize the technology, it becomes a very positive experience. And many cases, a lot of those seasoned employees become our champions for the rest of the staff.
Yep.
And I just underscore exactly what Mark just said. We are presented daily with the challenges of trying to put these new devices in the hands of folks that sometimes only have a 10th grade education. So part of the reason why we did choose the Apple iPad was the intuitive nature of the Apple platform. And I personally have been in the field with some inspectors that you could tell didn't have a tremendous education, and within a minute or two of showing them how to use the applications, they picked it right up and they were able to run with it. So I do feel like the younger generation, it's less than, you have less of that training time required, but pretty much in all of the apps that we have trained so far, I have had some folks to come up afterwards and thank me because they would have shied away from the technology until they got it in their hands.
Wow, I think that's a good endorsement. Lisa, were you about to say something?
Yeah, I was going to mention that that consensus building that we did for the lane closure app was a direct result of our lessons learned from launching the Citizen Reporter app. Our plow drivers have been out for 20, 30 years giving us excellent info, and when they heard about the Citizen Reporting app, they were pretty upset about it at first, and they thought that we were essentially farming their job out to the traveling public, and they were concerned about the implications there. And we really had to take a step back and do some internal consensus building and let them know there are features in here that will make your job easier, and the whole point is giving extra great info to the public, not to dictate where you plow and when you're plowing. So the consensus building was really important for us because we had a lot of people that are in the sheds and not at our central office very often, and they feel not only because of this project, but a lot of the times that people are not really listening to their concerns and not really utilizing their feedback. So that was a really important step for us to make sure that we had their buy-in and we let them know that there were features that they could use on the app as well.
Yeah, I think that's great. So at this point, I appreciate that it's after 2:30. I want to thank all of our presenters, Mark, Lisa, Chris, Alice, and Joe. I think this was really been helpful for us. You know, we can definitely stay on the line in case people have additional questions here. I'm kind of fascinated by how many DOTs are using iPads. And I think that this has been a really great discussion, and I appreciate everybody's interest in today's webinar. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Emily.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thanks,
very
Emily.
much.
All right. So with that, maybe we will go ahead and hang up. But I appreciate all this, and I think we have a lot of thanks here. So have a good day, everybody.